We are on Sync Gems. Andrew and Lauren. It's been a long time coming. We've been setting this up for a while. But I'm so happy to have you guys on. I'm super grateful. You are my first supervision crew. So welcome to the podcast, guys.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Yeah. It's my first three-way conversation. So it's just gonna be fun. We're just gonna roll it and see how it's going. What I would love to know from y'all is how your stories kind of meshed together. How y'all came into the point where you are seeking the same thing and starting a successful supervision company together. And yeah, and hopefully coming down the conversation, y'all can explain what it means to what triple threat actually is and what your job is, what your yeah, because I'm excited to hear about that. So let's start with Andrew. Tell me about you.
Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, really, it kind of, our journeys both started individually in the supervision world. We both worked under music supervisors. Um, I worked under Anastasia Brown, and Lauren worked under Rick Clark. And through that, we started getting our experience. We both were very, very passionate people about this craft in the music industry. And really, what happened is we met at Music Biz, which is a conference in Nashville. And there's like maybe one panel on music supervision and sync licensing out of the maybe like 50 panels that go on. And we both were volunteering, and we both quickly became friends. We saw each other at the panel. Uh, we're helping with various parts of the event, and through that, we just stayed in touch as friends. And we were both on our own paths and our own journeys while we were in college and figuring things out. And ultimately, what happened is during the pandemic, while it was a terrible thing, that really stopped everybody in their tracks, it stopped us and allowed us to kind of take that step back and think, you know, is now the right time to start that supervision company? And I know I said I really can't do all of this myself. Like, I think it'd be a bit naive if either of us said we'll be able to do this all on our own, because we are just a few years out of college, very fresh, very new into this field. While we do have experience, we were still very new, and so thought, who could I partner with on this, especially in Nashville, where most music supervisors live in New York or LA or Chicago, and it became supersonic clear that Lauren was that person, and it really was like from that first meeting where it was like kind of crazy, but would you want to start a supervision company together? It's just been amazing since then, and we found opportunity where some may not usually think, and um, with different types of clients and types of media that we work on, and also I think we have found a lot of success as a duo, which isn't always the case. A lot of times it's just one person uh, that works on these. Sorry.
It's late out there, guys. We were just talking about the time differences, and yeah, I'm in my morning. They're in their evening, so it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, essentially that's how we met, and that's how we've been working ever since.
Beautiful. Lauren, I'd love to hear if Andrew's right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about, our friendship. We've got a very strong partnership, and, our strengths and weaknesses balance each other out, I think, perfectly. We're almost like a yin and yang in that way. And, we have different so many different experiences. I mean, we both had, just a number of internships and jobs before, we decided to step out on our own. And I think we really complement each other well in a lot of different aspects of our business. So I'm very grateful to be working with him. And yeah, he's a fantastic friend and a fantastic business partner. And yeah, we hit it off. I mean, right away from the start, and just always kept in contact. Stayed friends, and then we decided, after enough experience, we wanted to go out on this venture together, and it's been amazing. Um,
Yeah, it reminds me of composition in a lot of ways. What y'all are speaking to, it's like sometimes one person is not as good as in something, and they have somebody who complements that, so they can basically, as composers, they can make a track in less than a day because it's like boom, boom. It's like and yeah, that's why I'm hearing that triple thread. It's like echoing in my head. Um, what what brought you to supervision, guys? Like what brings one to supervising? What brings you to and we will touch your duo aspect, but what brought y'all to what brought you, Lauren, to start supervising?
yeah, I guess the short answer to that really would be, I've always been super passionate about music, about TV, about film. Grew up, really immersed in that. I played in band, I played clarinet, saxophone, piano. I grew up, my mom took me to the movies twice a week. So I just was immersed in the culture. I've seen so many different, films, TV shows. It's what I'm passionate about. And had a friend, I was in a music appreciation class and came in and talked about, music supervision on the entry level. And I just thought, wow, that's what I want to do with my life. And have been very hungrily pursuing that ever since. So,
Andrew?
Yeah. I my just about the journey and how we got into it. Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah, yeah. Just how what that's crazy, by the way, Lauren. I haven't heard of supervision until probably 3 years ago or something like that. So I feel like it's amazing. Andrew, what brought you onto this path? Because you sound like, again, like you both sound like you are super. You love what y'all are doing, and that's what I feel like. Also on your in your bios, it feels like it's a part of you. So Andrew, what brought you into supervision?
Yeah. I will say I think Lauren definitely has had the fire a bit longer than I have. I had no idea what it was until I really went to college. I come from a classical background, so film scores and composers are my world. That's my bread and my butter. But I didn't know about it until I went to a panel and somebody said you might like this. They talk about film scores and I was like, oh, okay. And there's a panel on music supervisors, and they talked about film scores, but then they talked about doing the theme song to a show, or they talked about, like, one was about the movie August Rush, which was a very inspirational film and how music is explained, right, through that story. And I think for me, it just that panel just opened my eyes up to this whole new world that I just wasn't aware of, and um, that's when I started realizing, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. I am just I think this is what I'm called to do. This is where my passion is, right? And, since then, I could have looked into doing touring and marketing, management, whatever it may be. And every job opportunity I've done has been related in sync, because I really feel passionately about what the power of sync can do for artists, and how wonderful it is to be able to be that music influencer for such important stories that get shared across the world. So yeah, ever since then, it's been there since 2016. So
Mm. So you said something really powerful there. You said, I discovered what sync can do for artists. And I would love for y'all to double click on that. Was there like, and perhaps add a story to it? Was there a part where you were like, oh, I can really help artists do this thing? Is it what angle does it come in for a supervisor?
um, yeah, I mean, the power of sync is really it always depends. What I we always say is every song has a story of its own. On whenever you're clearing it, getting it approved, selecting that song for production. But what's really special is those can help make or break a career in multiple ways. One, it's about the exposure that artist gets exposed to a whole new audience. So let's say there's a show that we'll say Love Island, for example. Love Island doesn't usually cost a lot to have your music in there, I imagine, but the exposure is huge. You get added to playlists. All the people in Love Island, UK, are checking out, your music. But maybe you're an American artist. That's a whole new audience and a whole new brand that's checking out your music. And so it's a great way. You don't have to go tour, and you get that exposure through that program, and it's in there forever, right? So you become a part of that story, which I think could be really powerful, especially if it's something impactful. There's a lot of social justice ads. There's really great activations, and really great stories where music has played a pivotal role in that. And then I would also say too, um, from a monetary standpoint, sync can be a huge game changer. Where I know of artists who one sync placement has completely changed their lives. Right, so they're able to go from living in their car to putting a down payment on a house, or going to an apartment complex, and putting down your first month of rent. And I know another artist that it funded their entire tour, and so it can really be that game changer as well from a monetary perspective, where we're living in a world where touring you're usually not earning that much, streaming you have to get a million streams just to get a couple grand. So that's where it's really important, I think, for artists, where they're really seeing a lot of that value. And um, in addition, it's going to be for the writers, it's going to be a consistent paycheck. If it's something that's airing continuously, it's going to be something that happens again and again and again and again and again, with exposure rather than, you know, it. I guess what I'm trying to say on the writer's side is it's a continuous paycheck versus like the one time thing, and like going to perform at a songwriters round or something like that, right? So
How about you, Lauren? What's your angle on that?
Yeah, well, I think Andrew made some really great points, and it is a huge thing to be able to put food on the table for your family with your craft, and that's something that we discuss and we're very passionate about. And as a business, we really try to think with the artists in mind always, and protecting them and making sure that they know their rights. And a huge part of what we do as a company, and I think why we align so well and what we hold at the center of our values, is education for artists. And a lot of the film contracts that we work with on that side as well. Just making sure that they know their rights and they're protected, and they know not to sign those rights away for their publishing or their master necessarily. So yeah, I think a great example of that would be Snow Patrol and when they got used in Grey's Anatomy. I think that is a really cool example of a show that just put them on the map, and nobody knew who they were before that. And to get a huge payday like that off of a show is a plus. But I think at the end of the day, we're all passionate about music and the craft, and you yourself know that as an artist, and so it takes a lot. But I think there's a huge value in getting that exposure and also getting compensated for it, providing for yourself.
Wow. Yeah. So much there. And I said, I say it and I mean it because, I mean, the whole concept of supervisors for artists is a bit of something that is more far fetched. So I'm so happy that y'all are bringing it home. I don't know if from what I'm saying, it will make sense in a minute, but reaching out to supervisors has been proven to be a concept that doesn't always work. And let's just say 95% it doesn't work because supervisors get hit up all the time, and they need to clear and make sure that they are working with the right people, with the right artists, um, with the right approaches, people who have all their rights to their songs. Where does that meet you guys? So how do you choose the artists and the campaigns you work on? Yeah. Let's go with
Yeah.
Andrew.
I will say you're absolutely right. We get probably 15 emails a day of people sharing music. Um, I've always been under the impression, and Lauren feels the same way, that you have to be fans of music, right? So to be in this job, you have to be a fan of film, TV, ads, whatever media you're working on, and music, right? It can't just be music; has to be a solution. Music isn't something that's just, oh yeah, we'll find something that works. It's, it can be, like we were just saying, a really important moment for those artists or for that story that they're trying to tell. And we love checking out new music. We're always listening. We have our favorites, but um, with that, we are always looking, and you never know, if you are an artist, you never know. Uh, that song that you pitched 3 years ago may get picked up in a new TV show, and that music supervisor has that email, and they downloaded the song and now are reaching out. So sometimes it just takes time. But I will say, too, there's been the from reaching out and building those connections, it's really important to build authentic connections and be a verified resource or source, you could say. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of people out there that want to get a sync placement, right? And you need to have a good reputation, a great track record, um, and the ability to be on a quick turnaround. So with all of that, it's a lot of times a sync agent or a publisher or a label who has those trusted relationships with a music supervisor. So that's where they're able to build, and that's the go-to person. Lauren and I have some people that that's some of our go-to people, and there's other people that we like listening to their music, and maybe not at the top of our list, and then there's some new people that come in every single day that we're checking out and getting verified. But for us, what's really important is we need people that can build trust and have those quick turnarounds and aren't going to make a mistake and say, let's say an indie artist reaches out and says, "Oh my gosh, I forgot my cousin Sam was a co-writer on this. He's with Sony Music Publishing over here." Well,
Oh
that's
no.
it. That's gone.
Oh
Okay,
my.
well, they're going to be really upset about that, and so that's a bridge that's burned, and there's no going back from that. So I say try and make sure if there's like a certain. It never hurts to reach out individually. We've definitely had that happen, but if there's a publisher you're with, or a label, or a sync agent that you all know, uh, go talk to them, because usually they're the ones talking to us, and one way or another we're going to get the music. So if it comes from people like those trusted sources, that's when we're most likely going to take the time to listen to it and put it in our disco database and store it for future uses.
So trusted resources meaning libraries.
It depends. Every project has different fees and different types of music needs. It could be a music library, it could be a music publisher, it could be a label, it could even be an independent artist if they're trusted and verified. Like Lauren has somebody in town that we've gotten to know very well, who's a guitar player in downtown Nashville, plays at the bars, incredibly talented guitarist, right? Okay, he has some stuff that we always consider and check out because, for the right stuff, because we know he's a trusted contact and he's somebody that we've worked with in the past and has a good track record.
Okay, so I'll turn it around to Lauren and ask what does a project with triple threat looks like? And I know that it's a broad question, right? But what are there general commonalities between the projects that you work on? Like, how does it, let's say, from the uh, editor, from a brief maybe to an editor to somebody hiring you? How does that work from your angle?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question, and probably the best way to explain that and explain us as a company, and kind of where the name Triple Threat Supervision comes from. So we have three aspects that we work with that are all part of music supervision, but make us, a little bit different. I think there's some music supervisors that just strictly do the creative. A lot of them also do music licensing. And then some people also do score supervision as well and oversee composers and creating custom score. And so we do all three, hence the name Triple Threat. And so I think each project and each client that we work with, we really focus on assessing their needs and meeting them where they are and looking at exactly what they need for what their budget is. And, every project is similar and different in different ways. And I guess the best way that I could answer that, is going back to what Andrew said, just working with, you know, our trusted contacts on both sides. I think on the production side for film, TV, podcasts, commercials, all different types of media that we span across. We primarily work in independent film right now, but we're branching out to, other mediums. And yeah, I mean, we really just try to meet people where they are. And I know that it's kind of a funny answer, but every project is different. Um, in what it needs. And that's our job, is to come in and really be that liaison and communicate on behalf of, the rights holders that, we're licensing music from, whether that be a music library, a composer, or, someone that we're having come in and create custom content, a custom song just for sync. So I think that all of our projects, kind of have different needs. And it's about building those relationships and that trust, because, you're not going to use somebody just off the street that you don't know, that you don't have a relationship with, because, they could have samples in their music and you have no idea. And that could be a huge problem later on down the road. And, we're always going to protect our clients and the artists that we work with and make sure that, everybody's covered on all sides. So I think that's the best way to answer your question. I mean, Andrew, you could chime in here if you think I missed anything, but
No, crushed it.
thanks.
Shout outs to samples. Um,
They're the worst.
Yeah.
Shout outs to samples. We may get back to that, but I wanna build on that and ask you what does your guys' dream project right now? Like, what does it look like for y'all?
Go for it, Lauren.
It's a great question. I think it takes a lot of time to build up that relationship with somebody, um, on the buyer side, because music supervision, there's, we're essentially buying music on behalf of the productions that we're working for, right? And so I think, obviously we love the creative aspects of things, and we're working on projects where we're doing some of that, but it takes a lot of trust for people on the creative side for the content to give you full creative control over projects. And music licensing is a huge aspect of what we do as well, and I know not every supervisor does that, but it's a huge part of supervision. And sometimes people even hire entire clearance teams to help them out on their projects, because that part is such a heavy lift. There's so much paperwork and so much administration and other tasks that you wouldn't realize on the outside looking in. I think supervision kind of gets this connotation when people don't fully understand it. It's almost like you're a DJ for a project, right? You get to, like, people would assume, oh, you get to pick these pick these songs for
Do
these
the
projects.
scratches. Do the pa pa
Yeah,
pa.
and I think in an ideal world that would be really cool to just do creative on a project, but there's so many other things that go into it that people don't realize, and yeah. But I guess for me, I we Andrew and I both love film, but for me, ideally, to get a huge feature film and just be able to put a bunch of needle drops in there and have an unlimited budget is always the ideal situation. But yeah, Andrew, you wanna share what your ideal project is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you too. Anything that has as much money as possible. Because A, we love giving that back to the artists and writers, and B, that's one of the hardest things about this craft is, sometimes the song may work so well, but it's too expensive and you got to go another way. And you know, there's temp love where people get really into the track that's temped in, and then people love it and they're stuck with it, or they need to go find something else because it's too expensive and people can't like get that or that idea out of their heads. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's having that ability, full creative range to work on a project and being able on both aspects where really triple threat is able to be that full triple threat, right? So we're doing the creative supervisions, finding and sourcing music for the production, and then we'll do the licensing and clearance, and then finally also getting to bring on a composer and get to work with them and go into the studio and record the soundtrack at Ocean Way in Nashville, or wherever it may be. But that would be a dream, I think, for us as we're continuing to grow our brand and grow our company here in town. And yeah, I mean, a huge feature film, and something really important for us too is as we've gotten into this too, it's one thing to work on, just to work on projects, but we really want to be focused and work on impactful projects that are really sending a strong message. So there's a film coming out probably towards the end of the year that has a really powerful message about the foster care system. We're really looking forward to the community sharing. There's another one about a man's personal journey going through alcoholism, drug addiction, and their journey back to their family, and then how their family is that root, right? And so, you know, we are really passionate about telling really important stories. We love the fun, go get them. Don't hurt me. I haven't seen John Wick, but like, it's very action oriented. Love that. Great films and stuff, but it's totally different than what you see for like an Interstellar or a Till movie, or Selma or something like that.
Yeah, that brings me actually to an interesting an interesting question. Was there a hard lesson y'all learned about supervision throughout your journey that I mean, you had to learn only through walking? Like only through walking in this fire, you had to learn that lesson. Was there anything like that for y'all? Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said. Just in the admin things and like paying attention to detail and just being so hyper organized. And I think if you don't have those skill sets in this career path, um, I don't want to say you're doomed because you can learn those things. You for sure can, and everybody makes mistakes, and I think the industry is definitely, turning around, and being less harsh. I think when we first started out, it was, this hyper awareness of, you can't make a mistake. There's no room for growth or failure. And I think people are changing their view on that. Um, but yeah, I would just say there's certain skill sets that people really need to learn and to develop. And um, yeah, like really advocating for yourself and making sure you're getting paid for overtime or just proper amount of time that you're spending on a project. Making sure that, artists are getting compensated properly, that there's enough budget to do a project. Um, all definitely things you learn when you're young and you're starting out. You learn that your time, our time, is very valuable, and so it's a huge thing that you don't want to waste. I'd say.
Yeah,
Andrew?
I mean, I think one of my favorite things about working with Lauren and like as our company whole too is, like we said from the beginning, we are not the person working on season 21 of Grey's Anatomy. We come here to the table knowing that there is a lot still left to be learned. We know a great deal, but this is a craft that is continuing to evolve. There's a lot of things going on in the news too about, yeah, exactly, pay, compensation, unionization and things like that, and do you know supervisors are advocating for that because they're realizing that their value is not being seen in the community. And so I think what's been really great is every project Lauren and I have worked on, from a creative standpoint and a business standpoint, we've learned lessons on each one that have helped us, kind of where we're like that yin and yang together. Like it just makes that stronger. Every single project we work on, it just continues to show how strong and resilient we are at that. And if something happens, then I think we're both very honest people and we're able to address those. If a mistake happens as well, it's not something where our pride is hurt. It's, hey, you know what? Let's go fix the problem. Let's get right on it, right? Um, but yeah, I will say, it's a very detail oriented job. There's some, basic but essential skills: organization, being detail oriented, being a very analytical person. And it's because they're important because you have this responsibility on both sides, right? You have the responsibility to the film, we'll just say film production company, and making sure that all of their music needs are being met at their budgetary constraints, right? While also advocating for artists and making sure that, you know, ZZ Top is not doing a license for $500 aside, because that is not appropriate, for an artist of that level. And, even going down the list, an indie artist should not be at $500 per side. So, that's where, it's a lot of responsibility to also have those conversations with our film, the film that we may be working on, and say, hey, just going to be real honest, that's not going to be possible, because we also understand that we need to respect their talent and their art that they're creating, right? So, um, yeah, I feel like that was more of a generalized response, but
That's huge,
yeah,
bro. That's huge. Like I don't know. I think composers will take it like it will be a really like a sigh of relief, because I mean, to me the supervisor's role is so vague because it's so broad yet so underlooked. Same as editor, by the way. They are masters. Like they are these people. I want to talk to a lot of editors on this podcast because they are artists in their own right, in my opinion. Like I know how they cut trailers, I know how they cut music into, and and everybody is an artist here in their own respect to me, and I'm gonna be naive saying that, but that's and that brings me to the next question and next point. The Guild of Music Supervisors. That's why it was. I feel like it was created because the job of music supervisors wasn't respected as much as it was supposed to be. And please correct me if I'm wrong. And I would love to hear from you guys. How did it meet you, and how did y'all get to the award ceremony, like you were nominated for an award for and just like, where does it meet you?
Yeah. Um, do you want me to go first?
Go for it, Anthony.
Um, yeah. So I mean, the guild, for us and for creators, is a great resource. There's a Canadian Guild of Music Supervisors. There's a UK Guild of Music Supervisors. It's there's a lot of chapters for each country. So I would look into that wherever you're listening. But yeah, the US version of the Guild of Music Supervisors has been really instrumental in helping push that narrative forward, and really, one, identifying what is a music supervisor. And that's why you're seeing all of these articles coming out about Stranger Things and the Kate Bush sync. You're seeing articles come out about The Last of Us, about oh, what's the other one that I saw? Um, Yellowstone. There's one other I can't remember, but articles are coming out left and right about these crafts because people love music. I mean, we're seeing it on our phones with TikTok and stuff, right? People love music being combined to media. And so with that, it's like, oh, this is a job. This is, an opportunity for us to share that platform and what we do, and understand that, we're not the director, we're not the studio, but we're working just as hard as everybody else out there, right? And we're an essential member of each production. We're not just some small team member helping get waters for everybody. It's, we have a big task where music has been so monumental in shaping a lot of films, as we've seen, over the last few years, like Spider-Verse, Suicide Squad, things like that. And yeah, there's a lot of free panels, very informative. They're always trying to educate songwriters and artists as well, just so you're aware of your rights, and what are the best practices to engage with the music supervisor. We have one way, but every just like each song is has a life of its own, so does every music supervisor, right? So it's a great organization to be a part of. We're both members, and we love supporting the guild. We were so grateful to be honored for our work as well at the Guild of Music Supervisors Awards. It was our first and of many nominations to come, and we really felt grateful to be nominated in that field, and in that that so many of our among our peers that we have looked up to and respected. And it was a really good moment to talk with everybody there. And yeah, it was really incredible to have that opportunity, to go out there. And they're even opening like a Nashville uh, chapter here, hopefully, where they'll bring more opportunities for songwriters and artists to engage. And the goal is to get that everywhere. So the idea of sync isn't some hidden gem anymore. It's as easy as looking up things online and calling meeting somebody at a restaurant who understands what we're doing. So
Mm. Yeah, because I mean, to what you're saying, there's way more demand than ever for movies. Like just, I mean, for me, it's just look at Netflix. Every day there's something coming out, basically there, and it's just like with that comes a demand as well, and with that demand, I mean, there's royalties as well. There's opportunities. There's also, I assume, more opportunities for supervisors. Um,
Hmm.
and I want to ask Lauren, how do your skills complement each other? Because usually, again, like from what I know, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but supervisors usually work solo. How do you guys how do you complement each other? What are your fortes, and how do you kind of compensate for each other and grow as a unit?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. And I'll start off by answering that and just say that, Andrew is so knowledgeable in the licensing realm, and I've learned so much from him. He is just like a wealth of knowledge, and he's so passionate about, educating other people, on music licensing. And he's taught me personally so much about that, and I think we've both had prior experiences, and we've worked for supervisors, and, we've learned the ropes. But when it gets down to, the nitty gritty, he is really, really on top of it. And I think, it's fun. Like I really enjoy like a lot of the creative aspects of things. I think it's really fun to be able to work with a director or producer, and they've got the budget and the resources available, and we're able to pull some really fun songs that they can afford. Um, that's really, really cool. And um, I think the culmination of our experiences and prior jobs that we've had, um, I think Andrew mentioned before, but I worked for Rick Clark and he worked for Anastasia Brown. Um, and even prior experiences, like my whole background, I started in sound design, and then I moved to music editing, and then supervision eventually. And we're both musicians by heart, and so I think applying the technical knowledge of theory and just organizational skills, and simple things like cue sheets, and you know we really have taught each other a lot. And I think it would be foolish to say that we know everything, because every project that we take on, we learn so much from each other. We learn so much from new clients that we work with. I mean, we even took on our first project in the UK, and we learned about the VAT tax there that they don't have in the US. And it was definitely quite a shock. But I think, every project we take on, there's something unique, and we combine our creative brains, our technical brains, and um, I guess the best way I could explain supervision, it's like the perfect blend between the creative brain and the business brain. And yeah, we really balance each other out in a lot of different ways. And we're passionate about similar things, I think, in sync, but also very different things. And so just putting our heads together has been such a wonderful experience. I mean, Andrew's just a phenomenal partner, always cheering each other on. And we've got a great working relationship. I mean, I don't think I've ever met anyone that works harder than him. So
Likewise, right back at you.
thanks.
Yeah, y'all seem like a good crew, to be honest. Y'all seem
Thank you.
I'm intrigued as an artist what it looks like to work with y'all. Before we're coming on the hour, and I want to ask you a final question. I had a bag of questions for y'all here. As we were speaking, I was kind of geeking in, but one question I have for both of y'all, as composers are the main people who listen to this, people who are in this industry. What is a piece of advice that you would give composers and people who are listening to this and people who really want to step it up and to make a living out of this sync game? What would
Mhm.
be a piece of advice that you would give these people?
It's a good question. Very good, especially to our composer friends. Well, you know, I'll kind of go ahead and start off by saying, like, I know a lot of what we deal with, and in the traditional music supervisor sense, a lot of them deal with artists and songwriters. But, that's one thing that makes us special is we really do have an impact working with composers because sometimes what happens is there's not enough but money for to license songs and they just want to hire a composer. Well, that's where we come in. We go find them and then we go and uh, work through that creative process with them, right? What is the sound that they're trying to develop? And we love working with rising new voices in the composer world because it's a fun journey. I think two pieces of advice. One actually comes from Hans Zimmer, and that would be, if you've ever taken his master class, he says, when people ask me what my backup option is, I say composition. And, people are always like, "What do you mean?" It's like, no, that's my job. That's what I will do, and that's it. And if you're a rising composer, like that's where I say definitely don't give up. It's a long journey ahead. It is not easy. Even for Lauren and I, it's we're still growing our business and growing our client base, and it's really great to have composers to bounce things off of and build that support and network as well. But I think if you really, really are passionate about it, um, it will come over time. For those who put in the time and the work to make that happen. So Hans Zimmer is my first piece of advice, and my second is don't be afraid to try new things. I think in today's age, sometimes there's norms just because composers have been around for so long that people understand what they are. And I want the Hans Zimmer drones. Okay, and at the end of the day, composers need to meet the client's needs, right? Sure. But if you have that creative ability to, have some influence and work on a project where you're able to, get creative, don't be afraid to think outside of the box. You'd be really surprised at what people um, come back with when, let's say, you're doing a project and you somehow use sound design elements in your score. And it was a very stripped down score for an action movie. Okay. Well, go look at All Quiet on the Western Front. It just won. I'm pretty sure that just won Best Score at the Oscars. Incredible soundtrack. Very minimalistic. Not what you'd expect from a World War One story, right? Um, but that composer went outside the box and really wanted to uh, provide the awe of war, right? And you know, I think just don't be afraid to go outside the box. Get creative, and you're not bringing babies into this world. You're not saving lives. It's music. Like, have fun with it.
Yeah, well, I think those are all great points that Andrew brought up. Um, I would say if you're going to reach out to a supervisor, just make sure you do your research on them first. Make sure you do your research on, the shows that they work on, the type of music that they work with. Do they, you know, is it shameless? Are they using specifically, a lot of rock cues in their shows? And, don't go pitching them techno for that, and I think if you want to get on somebody's brief list, a huge way to, build that trust and pique someone's interest is look at the shows that they're working on and see if your music is a good fit for something that they would be working on, and how you can align a partnership. Because, you know, Andrew and I get messages all day long of, oh, check out this, and, kind of the perspective of what can you do for me. But I think if you can approach, a supervisor with the mindset of how can I help you, and, how can we really work together and build that trust and build that relationship up, is huge. And I would say, back to our point earlier that we brought up, attach your metadata to your darn songs, please. Have all, if you're a songwriter, just have your splits dedicated and decided, before you leave the room. Is it a third, a third, a third? Is it 50%, 50%? Just make sure that, everything's accounted for. All your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed. Um, there's nothing worse than, burning a bridge with somebody because you got too excited, but you didn't have it all together. And I think young people tend to get excited, and they're ready to seize that opportunity, but they approach it the wrong way, or they don't have all their ducks in a row. And it's sad to see, because we're passionate about trying to make sure that people know these things. So for the people listening, yeah, definitely just make sure that you educate yourself. And there's so many different resources out there today. I mean, you can YouTube music licensing basics, and there's so much knowledge at your fingertips. You can teach yourself really all of this. You don't have to go to school for it. There's no degree that you have to learn. And yeah, I mean, there's really something to be said. Like, you can really get your foot in the door that way if you're very strategic about the way that you align your partnerships with people and approach people in that way.
Yes. Communication, 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 communication. It's everything. And you know what? I'm gonna ask an extra shameless question, because I get it a lot from people actually who listen to the podcasts. They ask about the use of samples, and specifically things like Splice, or like sample libraries. And to be honest, from my experience, if one takes these samples and manipulates them enough, then it's passable. It's okay. But I would love to hear it. And again, there's a lot of people who say no, 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 loop, get it out of here. Like, no, I don't even want to hear that stuff. So I would like for either one of you to address that for a second, if possible.
Yeah, I know that's definitely a hard one to answer, and we can't give like a direct answer, straightforward. Like this is it on every case. Everything is a case by case basis. Like Splice, I know there's been some issues with the sounds that are used, and somebody claims they own them. And I would just say make sure in the user agreements. So usually they have agreements that you can look at when you buy a subscription or purchase the sounds. So like if it's subscription based, you can use it for that period that you have the subscription. Or if you purchase like the Hans Zimmer bundle, that has the Hans Zimmer sounds, then are just double check the agreement that says yes, you're able to use this in your compositions. It'll state the language in there usually. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is get all original music. It's fine doing mock-ups of scores, and if you're in the box and trying to get things figured out, that's fine. But if you really are going for that big theatrical release, you really got to go into the studio and record all of those original sounds. And when it comes to like sample clearances, we've been fortunate; we really haven't experienced too much of that. You know, full honesty. But what we've seen is a lot of times it's in the hip hop world. There's a lot of samples of older songs that get used. Right, there could be a song from 1950 ep55 that is used in a 2022 song of a hip hop artist. Have no idea, but that's where you have to be liable for that, and you have to do your due diligence. And actually, what will happen is a lot of times when supervisors license music, they're the one that says something, and the label says, "Whoa, what? That's a sample? Oh my gosh!" And then they have no
Mm,
idea, and they're
yeah.
like, "Holy crap, we got to go get this fixed." So, um, you know, sometimes it actually turns it around the other way, where the supervisor kind of becomes the investigator, you could say.
Mm. The ear. Yeah. I mean, again, I feel like that's why supervision can be very underrated because the supervisor basically crafts the story with the of course the creator director all these people they make it. But think about I mean if I think about a movie, let's say the biggest movies I know, like Matrix, what's the name of the movie, that Interstellar, or these movies, like what would they be without the music? What
Mm-hmm.
would they be without the music, for real? And yeah, even movies like you were saying, like a Suicide Squad is a classic example because it's straight up supervision masterclass in my opinion. um but or Guardians of the Galaxy, stuff like that, where they take the craziest, or Euphoria, things like that, where people you can I can definitely say it's art, it's an art form. So I appreciate y'all for bringing that, and I appreciate you guys for coming on the podcast and being so legendary with your time and everything. Where can people reach out to y'all?
Yeah, well, thank you for having us, Roy. We're really grateful to sit down with you and, um, kind of be able to share some of our knowledge. I would say, you can find us on Instagram. We're, on LinkedIn. Um, where else, Andrew? Our
Yeah,
website.
that's what I was gonna say. Instagram and LinkedIn are usually the best to get conversation.
Yeah, I'll leave the links in the show notes. Thank y'all for coming on. Y'all are legends.
Well, thank you for having us. So
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate it.